I saw it just as the GPS map turned off, a snippet of text on her phone that she forgot to lock before the drive. I was behind her, in my car, following her home from the community center meeting. We'd volunteered together that night, stacking food boxes, arranging donation bins. It was a Tuesday, cool, slightly humid. She'd insisted I ride with her afterward. "We can talk," she said. I touched the passenger side door. She didn't see me glance at her screen. But when the phone lit up with a message preview, "Meet me in the storage room at 10. You know I can't stop thinking about that night. Need your voice in my ear." I pulled up just a little too close. My heart thumped. I knew then, as she was lying. The car idled, streetlights flickered. I watched her fingers hover, deleting something. Panic, denial, I couldn't tell which. I drove on, hands gripping the steering wheel. I didn't speak. The rest of the ride was silence filled with thunder in my chest. Flashback, 5 years earlier. In Pleasant Ridge, we were married 20 years, and life looked comfortable. I ran a small design consultancy. Marina organized local events for nonprofits. The kids were younger, full of soccer, music lessons, vacations. We were the steady couple. Not flashy, but always together. We'd sit in our modest living room, her with a journal, me with plans or reports. We'd compare notes, dream quietly. Her laugh was soft. I thought she loved me deeply. Then after my 60th birthday, after my 50th birthday, things began to shift. Small things, as she'd stay late at the office, said she had extra community meetings. She grew secretive about her phone screen, shielding it, muting alerts, giving vague excuses. I pushed it aside. I told myself, she's just stressed. But tonight, that message shattered everything. Moments after the reveal, I parked blocks away from home. I watched her walk in, carrying boxes left over from the food drive. The door shut behind her. I sat there, mind racing. I texted her, "We need to talk. Tonight." She replied 10 minutes later, "Okay." I swallowed bile. It wasn't fair to accuse, not yet, but I needed proof. I opened my own phone, brought up her messaging app, saw blank screens, no history. But I remembered the preview. That was enough to redirect me. I drove home slowly, replaying that message over and over. Need your voice in my ear. Meet me in the storage room. I reached home. The lights were low. The kids, grown, were away at college. It was just me and her. I took a deep breath. I slid inside, each step echoing. I found her at her desk in the study, typing something quietly. She looked up, startled. The moment froze. She didn't say hi first. Her face registered fear. I held out my phone to her, the message preview, my voice low. "Marina. What is this?" Her eyes shifted. I could see the walls closing in. She whispered, "Ethan. We should sit." A storm built between us. And I already knew, after tonight, nothing would return to normal. We sat in the living room, opposite ends of the couch, the same couch where we'd hosted birthdays, movie nights, and quiet winter evenings. But tonight, the cushions between us might as well have been a canyon. Marina sat with her knees tucked under her, clutching a throw pillow like a shield. I kept my hands folded, knuckles tight. My heart was steady now, not because I felt calm, but because I was focused. "You saw a message," she said softly. "But it's not what it looked like." I nodded once, waiting. I didn't want her to think I was here for a shouting match. I was here for truth. She hesitated. "Carl is a friend. From the volunteer board. Sometimes we joke around, I almost laughed. That was a joke? I repeated, my voice dry. Meet me in the storage room? Need your voice in my ear. She shifted uncomfortably. I deleted the messages because I knew how it would seem. But I swear, Ethan, it never meant anything. Did you sleep with him? I asked. No fluff. No build-up. I needed the answer, and I needed it raw. She blinked. No. Too quick. Have you kissed him? Silence. My stomach sank. She stared at the floor, and for a second, I thought she might just lie her way through it. But then... Yes. She said it like an exhale. Like something lodged in her throat for weeks finally gave way. Yes, she repeated, eyes brimming. A few times. It got confusing. Flashback, 6 months earlier. Looking back, the signs were clear. She stopped inviting me to the Friday dinners at the center. Said they were just staff now. Carl had started co-coordinating the grant outreach events. Marina mentioned him enough that I had an impression, a mid-40s, ex-military, ran a small home repair business. Divorced. Charming, apparently. She never said it outright, but I noticed her dressing differently for their shared events. Jeans gave way to skirts. Her usual simple hair clips were replaced with waves and curls. One night, she came home humming a tune I didn't recognize. She said Carl had played it in the car while they were hauling supplies. Something about the ease in her voice made me pause. I asked, "You two spend a lot of time together, hey?" She just smiled. "He's good at logistics. Better than most guys we've had." That night, I stared at the ceiling for hours. Back to the couch. "So when did this start?" I asked, arms folded, knuckles tight. She inhaled slowly. "January. That was nearly 5 months ago. He'd just gone through a breakup. We got to talking. I don't know. I felt needed. Seen. My jaw tensed. Needed? What about the 20 years we'd built? The home? The family? The steady life we created together, wasn't that worth something?" I wanted to scream. But I didn't. Instead, I stood. "I need air," I said. She nodded, silent. I went to the garage. Not to drive. Just to sit inside the cold, closed car, and breathe. Her words replayed, looping like a broken record. It never meant anything. We kissed a few times. He made me feel sane. I reached for my glove box, found an old receipt tucked there. A fast food meal from 3 months ago. Her signature was on the back. I remembered, that night she said she was stuck in a budget meeting. But the timestamp matched a Saturday. The center was closed. More lies. The next few days were a blur of polite avoidance. We barely crossed paths, speaking only in essentials. She didn't bring up Carl again. I didn't ask. But I started watching. I noticed the pattern. Her phone buzzed at odd hours, muted, but visible. She stepped outside for calls. She left early, came home late. One afternoon, I checked the family tablet, we shared accounts. I pulled up the messaging app. Her profile was clean. Too clean. I toggled the cloud sync, and saw it. A backup folder with recent chats. The names weren't listed, but one thread stood out. Over 300 messages. All within the last week. I clicked through. Most were auto-deleted. But a few previews remained. Still thinking about Sunday. Your voice last night, couldn't sleep after. Wish we had more time in the back room. The texts were timed right after her budget meetings. I saved a screenshot. Just one. Enough to confirm what I already knew. I waited until Thursday. She came in from work, dropped her bag by the counter. I met her at the doorway. "You still seeing him?" She looked like I'd struck her. "I asked you. You said it was over." She swallowed. "I'm trying to end it. It's hard. He's not pressuring me." I held up a hand. "I'm not here to hear about him. This is about us." She stepped forward. "Ethan, please. I still love you." "I do. I made a mistake." I stepped back. "You didn't just make a mistake. You built one. Slowly. Carefully." I grabbed my overnight bag. Already packed. Her face crumpled. "Where are you going?" "To my brother's. For now." "Ethan, wait. Please. We can fix this." I looked at her, really looked. Her lips trembling. The same lips that had pressed against someone else. Her hands shaking. The same hands that had texted another man late at night while I slept beside her. "No, Marina," I said quietly. "I don't think we can." That night, as I lay on my brother's couch, I stared at the ceiling again. Only this time, I didn't wonder if she was cheating. Now I was wondering how long I'd ignored the truth. The days at my brother's place blurred together at first. He offered space, no questions. Just handed me a spare key, stocked the fridge with decent beer, and gave me room to breathe. I didn't talk much that first weekend. Just sat on his back porch, staring at the tree line. October wind stirred the branches. The world was quiet, but inside, everything was thudding. On Sunday morning, my phone buzzed. A message from Marina. "Can we talk? I'll be home afternoon. Please." I didn't answer. Not yet. Instead, I opened a notebook and began writing down a timeline. Dates. Places she said she'd be. Times she came home late. Excuses. The fundraiser in April. The overnight conference in May. The weekend she said she was helping an out-of-town guest set up for a memorial. All those times, I had trusted her without question. That trust now felt like a door I had left unlocked for years, and someone walked in, rearranged everything, and left without closing it behind them. The next day, I returned to the house. She wasn't expecting me. I let myself in with my key and walked through the place like a stranger. The kitchen was spotless, unnaturally so. She'd scrubbed it, probably trying to make everything feel normal. But it only made the silence louder. In our bedroom, I opened her nightstand drawer. A small bottle of perfume, new, not the kind she used around me. A folded scarf I didn't recognize. And tucked underneath it all, a phone charger I hadn't seen before. Not the same brand as her current phone. Another device? I walked out, headed to her desk in the study. Most of her files were work stuff, event calendars, donor letters. But then, in the third drawer, I found a manila folder labeled simply, at budget 24. Inside were handwritten notes, grocery lists, receipts, and a restaurant stub from a place downtown. I flipped it over. 2 entries, wine, dessert. The date matched a night she told me she was meeting the committee to finalize schedules. It wasn't dinner for one. I confronted her that evening. She came in, keys jingling, coat still on. Stopped cold when she saw me at the table. I didn't expect. I held up the receipt. "Did you enjoy the tiramisu?" Her face went pale. "You told me that night you were at the rec center," I said. I checked the security cams. It was closed early for fumigation. She sat down slowly, eyes glossy. I didn't sleep with him, she repeated. I swear. I wanted to. But I didn't. I scoffed. That's not a badge of honor, Marina. She started crying. Real tears. Or maybe practiced ones, I couldn't tell anymore. I just felt invisible, she whispered. After the kids left. After your surgery. Everything got so routine. I stared at her. So instead of telling me, you told him. Silence. She nodded, tears falling. I wanted to feel alive again. That word, alive, hit me harder than I expected. Because that's exactly what I felt like I was fighting for now. My own life. My dignity. My sense of self. The next morning, I scheduled a meeting with a lawyer. No lawsuit. No courtroom theatrics. Just information. We discussed joint property, financial division, retirement accounts, and the potential for separation versus divorce. I walked out of that office with a folder in my hand and a dull, steady ache in my chest. But also with a strange clarity. This was happening. I wasn't dragging her to therapy. I wasn't begging for answers anymore. I was planning. Back at the house, Marina tried again. I ended it with Carl, she said one night, following me into the living room. I blocked him. Deleted everything. Please, Ethan. Can we try counseling? I shook my head. You didn't come to me before you kissed him. You didn't come to me after the first lie. You only came to me when you got caught. But I'm still your wife, she said, voice trembling. I looked her in the eyes. Then why did you act like you weren't? 2 days later, I stopped by the center, casually. Told the receptionist I was there to drop off a box of donated winter coats. Carl wasn't in, she said. Hasn't been around lately, she added with a shrug. Think he's taking time off. Messy breakup with someone here, from what I hear. I smiled politely and left the coats at the front. That night, Marina asked if I'd been by. Word gets around, she said carefully. I didn't answer. She hesitated. Are you trying to embarrass me? No, I said. Just tying up loose ends. She looked like she might speak again, but didn't. The message was clear, I wasn't playing passive anymore. But it wasn't over. Because just when I thought she was out of excuses, I caught her again. One night, I returned to the house late to grab some papers. She wasn't expecting me. From the hallway, I heard her voice, soft, low, different. I froze. The door to her study was cracked. No, I just miss the way you talk to me. That's all. Silence. A pause. Then her laugh, that shy laugh I hadn't heard in months. I pushed the door open. She gasped, dropped the phone. It clattered across the desk. Who was that? I asked. No one. I was just. Don't lie to me again. She reached for the phone, but I was faster. I looked at the screen. It wasn't Carl's name. Just a number. She had another burner. I blocked him, she said. But he used a different number. He begged me to talk. I didn't plan it. Save it, I said. I walked out again, this time with more than just my bag. This time, I took my wedding ring off. I kept the ring in my pocket for days before I could let it go. Not because I still felt tied to her, but because that circle of gold had been a symbol I took seriously. 20 years. Vacations, birthdays, surgeries, graduations. That ring had seen it all. But it meant nothing now. Not after 2 phones, 2 sets of lies, and 1 too many slips she tried to pass off as confusion or weakness. I left it on her dresser while she was out. No note. No announcement. Just silence. She didn't mention it when she saw me again. Maybe she didn't want to give me the satisfaction. A few days later, I filed for separation. Clean break. No legal battles unless she wanted one. We could divide the house. The retirement accounts. The old Subaru. I didn't want her money, I wanted myself back. My lawyer said, "You're doing this smarter than most." I just nodded. What else was there to say? One evening, a week later, Marina showed up at my brother's. She was wearing a coat I'd never seen. Not the kind she'd wear to church or work. More like something a younger version of her would have bought, fitted, trendy, intentionally stylish. "You look different," I said flatly. She blinked. "Can we talk?" I stepped outside with her. My brother stayed inside. She leaned against the hood of her car, arms crossed. "I'm sorry. I know I've said it 100 times, but I am." I waited. She looked down at the driveway. "I ruined everything." "You did," I said. She nodded. "I still love you." "No, Marina. You loved being seen. You loved being wanted. That wasn't the same as loving me." She didn't argue. Just stood there, lips pressed together. "Why Carl?" I finally asked. "Out of all the people?" She hesitated. "He made me feel like I mattered. After the kids moved out, after your surgery, you shut down." "I was recovering," I said. "I know. But you were distant. Quiet. I felt like a ghost. So instead of telling me, you became one," I said coldly. She flinched. "I tried to stop," she whispered. "Every time. But he made me feel alive." There it was again, alive. "Did he know you were married?" I asked. She looked surprised. "Of course." I nodded slowly. "Then you both knew exactly what you were doing." She reached out to touch my arm. I stepped back. "We're done, Marina. You don't get to hurt me and then reach for comfort. Not anymore." Her face crumpled. "You really mean it?" "Yes," I said. And I turned around and went back inside. That night, I lay on the guest bed staring at the ceiling fan spin in slow, hypnotic circles. I thought about the little things. The way she used to warm her coffee mug in the microwave before pouring. The soft sound she made when reading. The way she always knew where my keys were, even when I didn't. And I realized none of that mattered now. Because behind all those soft details was a person who made conscious choices, repeatedly, to betray the life we built. I didn't hate her. But I didn't trust her. And without trust, there was no marriage left to save. 1 week later, Carl called me. Yes, he called me. I don't know how he got my number. Maybe Marina gave it to him in some desperate gesture to clear the air. His voice was calm, even rehearsed. "Ethan, I just wanted to say. I never meant to blow up your marriage. I didn't go looking for it." I laughed, once. Bitterly. "You think that makes it better?" He paused. "No. I just wanted you to know I'm sorry." "You're a grown man," I said. "You knew she was married. You still went after her." "I didn't go after anyone. It started with long conversations. Shared frustrations. That kind of thing." "You mean emotional bait?" He was quiet. Then he said something I'll never forget. "She told me you didn't see her anymore." I clenched my jaw. "And you believed that justified sneaking around behind my back?" She said you wouldn't care. That one landed like a punch. I hung up without another word. The next day, I packed the rest of my things from the house. She was gone when I arrived. I was grateful for that. I didn't want another teary-eyed monologue about what could have been. In the back of the closet, I found a photo album we hadn't touched in years. Family vacations. The kids at soccer practice. Her parents when they were still around. One photo caught my eye, our picnic we'd had in the mountains, maybe 10 years ago. She was smiling, eyes squinting in the sun, head on my shoulder. Back when I thought we were solid. Unshakable. I closed the album and left it on the shelf. Let her keep the past. I was building something new. That night, I drafted an email to both kids. Subject, is some news about your mother and me. I didn't go into details, just told them that we'd separated, that I still loved them, that this didn't change who I was to them. I let them know they could ask anything, anytime. And I made it clear they weren't expected to pick sides. Both replied within hours. My daughter wrote, I had a feeling. Are you okay? My son's message was shorter, I'm with you, Dad. Always. I sat at the table and cried for the first time since this started. Not because of the loss, but because I felt held. Anchored. I wasn't alone after all. The first night in my new apartment, I sat on the floor eating takeout straight from the carton. A single lamp cast soft shadows on the wall. It was quiet, too quiet, but it was mine. 2 bedrooms. A view of a parking lot. Beige carpet and a water heater that clicked when it felt like it. Still, it felt like freedom. I'd signed the lease that morning. Paid the deposit with money I'd stashed over the years for emergencies. I guess this counted. I unpacked a few things, just enough to feel human. A chair, a coffee maker, some photos of the kids. Not of her. I left those in a sealed box. It hit me all at once, sometime around midnight, and this wasn't just a place I was crashing in. This was the beginning of life after her. 2 weeks passed with barely any contact. She messaged once. I miss you. I didn't respond. She messaged again. I've started therapy. Alone, not couples. Still no reply. Then one more. Can we talk? Just once, for closure? Closure. Funny word. I was already closing doors. On the life we had. On the lies she spun. On the versions of me I used to be, before all this. The lawyer called. Papers were ready. I sat in the office flipping pages. Each signature felt like a line in the sand. My hand was steady, though. No hesitation. No second guessing. Want to send them to her electronically or drop them off in person? The assistant asked. In person, I said. She deserves that much. I met her at a neutral spot, a quiet park in the late afternoon. The air smelled like leaves and cold soil. We sat at a picnic bench we'd once used during a family barbecue, years ago. She looked thinner. Hair tied back. No makeup. Just a beige sweater and tired eyes. I started going back to church, she said, almost nervously. The quiet helps. I didn't reply. Just handed her the envelope. She opened it, scanned the contents. Her hands shook. Is this really happening? Yes, I said. She nodded, eyes glassy. I kept thinking you'd come back. I did come back, I said. And you were on the phone with another man. Tears slipped down her cheek, but I didn't feel moved this time. I felt done. I ruined everything, she said softly. You did, I agreed. Silence fell between us. A bird landed near the table, cocked its head, flew off. Finally, she asked, "Is there someone else?" I blinked. No. And that's the saddest part, Marina. I didn't leave you for someone new. I left because I finally saw who you really were. She nodded, hugging her arms around herself. I loved you, Ethan. I loved you too, I said. But you loved the attention more. That night, I slept deeper than I had in months. No dreams. Just silence. 2 days later, Carl emailed me. Yes, emailed. He must have dug up my business contact from a shared newsletter or something we both subscribed to through the community center. It was short. 5 lines. I'm stepping away from all projects at the center. Marina and I are no longer in contact. I've accepted what I did was wrong. I just wanted you to know I'm out of your life. Carl. I didn't reply. Not because I was angry. But because there was nothing left to say. His exit didn't undo the damage. And his silence now was better than any apology. The kids came home for Thanksgiving. First time since the split. We didn't talk much about Marina. I could tell they had questions, but they were old enough to understand boundaries. Instead, we cooked. We watched old comedies. My son helped me mount a shelf. My daughter brought a pie she made herself. After dinner, while washing dishes, she finally said it. I'm proud of you. I paused. For what? For not staying just because it was easier. I dried a plate, looked out the window at the dark parking lot. Easy would have been lying to myself, I said. That's what I did for a long time. I started seeing a therapist a few weeks later. Just a quiet man with a warm voice and a leather chair that didn't squeak when I leaned back. He asked me what I wanted. I want to stop blaming myself, I told him. And I want to stop wondering what I missed. He nodded slowly. And do you think you'll trust again? I sat with that for a while. Maybe. But right now, I just want peace. He smiled. That's a good place to start. By mid-December, the separation was finalized. No drawn-out fights. No public fallout. Just papers filed, assets split, lives peeled apart like duct tape from old wood, loud, messy, but final. She kept the house. I took the retirement cabin we barely used. We agreed not to speak unless it was about the kids. I thought I'd feel hollow when it was over. But instead, it felt like air returning to my lungs. Christmas came quietly. I spent it at the cabin, my new place, technically. Still smelled of cedar and mothballs. I brought a space heater, strung up a few lights, made a fire. The kids came out for a day and a half, then went back to their lives. We drank coffee, played cards, and pretended everything was okay for their sake. That night, after they left, I sat alone by the fire with an old journal in my lap. First page said, things worth remembering. Funny. Half the things I once thought I'd remember forever were now things I was trying to forget. In early January, Marina sent me one last message. You were right. About everything. I just couldn't admit how far I drifted. No attachment. No request. I stared at the screen for a long while. Then deleted it. I didn't need closure. I'd already built mine. Brick by brick. Day by day. Carl left town, from what I heard. Rumor was he got offered a long-term contract 2 states over. Some renovation firm or consulting gig. I didn't ask. I didn't care. Marina went quiet. Deleted her social media. Word from mutuals was she'd stepped down from 2 committees. Started keeping to herself. I felt no glee in her unraveling. No satisfaction in her regret. I felt done. Spring came early that year. I started hiking again. Cleaned up my diet. Went to the gym. I didn't do it to glow up or spite her, I did it because it felt good to put my body to use again. I reconnected with old friends. Went fishing with my brother. Took a woodworking class I'd always said I'd get to. One afternoon, I found myself laughing, really laughing, over burgers and beer with 3 men I hadn't seen since the kids were in middle school. And it hit me. This is what freedom feels like. Not escape. Not revenge. Just the quiet steadiness of having yourself back. One night, as I stood on the cabin porch watching the stars blink alive, I thought about who I used to be. The man who believed a kiss couldn't break a marriage. The man who believed a few secret texts didn't matter. The man who believed loyalty was enough. I'm not that man anymore. I'm stronger now. Sharper. Not colder, but definitely not naive. I learned that love without respect is a slow death. I learned that silence in marriage is louder than shouting. I learned that loyalty doesn't mean standing still while someone walks away. So what did I take from all this? Boundaries matter. Self-respect isn't selfish. Trust, once broken, doesn't always come back. And most of all, if someone shows you who they are when they think you're not watching, believe them. Marina and I don't talk anymore. We are civil, sure. We nod at college graduations and keep to our corners during family group chats. But the man I used to be? He's gone. And the man I've become? He's just getting started.